So, Paul, the first part of the big news, of course, is as we watch Jan Ruska coming up here, this man has been setting a sensational time at midpoint. That's the time to beat, 5 minutes 44. Ruska looks as though he's going to do it.
Well, coming up to the line, this is going to be a very fast time indeed, and in fact it is the new best time, but still, Phil, there are an awful lot of big names to come, but this man really has set the pace so far.
Well, that's a very, very good start. There is the man who is hoping to do a good ride, making a very late decision to come to the Giro d'Italia, Marco Pantani. And here he is now out on the course and lacking a little bit, but not a bad time.
Well, it's not a bad time for Marco Pantani, but I think the big news is with just 48 hours to go, Marco Pantani coming in here with a time outside of 6 minutes, really made a last-minute decision to come here to the Giro.
And now we're looking back here at Pavel Tonkov, who's out on the cobblestones. You can see we're going into the early evening now in Rome, and the cobblestones here glistening a little bit. But this is a rider who has a great love affair with the Giro d'Italia over the years, and he looks like he's trying to get himself off to a very good start.
Well, this man is a big favourite for the overall victory here. In the prologue time trial, it is so important to put in a good time. He's looked very good out on the course, but Phil, the organisers have really taken a big risk. Fortunately, the weather is good, because I think this is a very tricky course.
It is indeed a tricky course, and Tonkov has not enjoyed it that much. He comes home with 5 minutes and 49 seconds, 16th place, and not a great start for him. Now, Paolo Savardelli, the man who finished second overall last year. He looks to me as though he is running Ruska very close indeed here.
Well, he has taken a few risks going around the corners. This is one of the tricky parts of the course here. We're not too far from the finish. Savardelli has posted some pretty rapid times out on the course. A recent win in the Giro of Romandie proved that he is on form and looking like a big title winner towards the end of this event.
Now, this is going to be a very, very good time here from Savardelli, and I think a new leader on the board as he swings up into the home finishing straight. It is quite a long way up towards the line here. Remember that Ruska has the best time, 5:38 on the board, and a big sprint coming here from Paolo Savardelli. He really is rocking and rolling as he comes up this long straight, but there's the time. It's going to be a great time. He's off to a good start in the Giro d'Italia. He grits his teeth and pushes it all the way. 5 minutes. It's going to be a new best, I think, on the line as he sprints now for it. Look at the speed of this man in front of the crowd. 5:38. Well, Paul, it looks as though, if anything, he's going to be a fraction of a second slower as we go back to last year's winner, Ivan Gotti, and he's not going to do it.
Well, Ivan Gotti is a long time out, but for him what's important is how he performs after 3 weeks. But you know, they are actually giving the fastest time to Jan Ruska by a fraction of a second ahead of Paolo Savardelli.
Well, they're saying by a mere 59 thousandths of a second, Jan Ruska, the time trial champion of his country, the Czech Republic, has got the victory over Paolo Savardelli. And that has got to go down as one of the closest finishes in time trial history. And indeed, it was an average speed of 48.994 kilometers an hour on a very difficult circuit. Ruska finishing ahead of Savardelli, Bradley McGee of Australia getting third, and Mario Cipollini putting in one of the big surprises there by taking 4th place.
Well, that's very important for Mario Cipollini, Phil, because of the bonus points over the first few stages. He will be looking at trying to get himself the pink jersey out on the course.
He will indeed, Paul. Well, one gladiator who didn't start the Giro d'Italia, Evgeny Berzin, the Russian rider who won the race in 1994, prevented from starting because of a high hematocrit reading, which suggests the possible use of the drug EPO. Under the international rules, he was stopped from riding just as they threw out Marco Pantani 12 months ago when leading this race. So we're looking down on the Colosseum now as the riders think of riding a race away from Rome now as we start to course our way south here. We're on the west side of the leg of Italy, and the ride is now facing up to a ride in excess of 100 kilometers, heading south now. It is going to be a battle of the sprinters, we think, on this opening few days of racing, but of course on this rather hilly Giro d'Italia, the sprinters won't always have their best of days. This is it, the first full stage, 129 kilometers from Rome down to Terracina. And after an early sprint win by Mario Cipollini, where he got 6 seconds bonus out at the hot spot, it's come down, Paul, to what's certain to be now a sprint for the line.
Well, it's a big sprint for the line, but there are no riders from the Seiko team at the front here. You can see the big long line there as they look for the final kilometre, where it's going to come up very rapidly. In fact, they already came through the finishing line here once, Phil, today, so they know where the line is, and you can see it's still a massive sprint altogether.
Well, it's the anticipated battle we expected here as the riders now line up for the finish in this last kilometre. And Martinello is the Polti rider there, taking a dive across the road. It looks like Stephen de Jong of Rabobank is involved in this, but no immediate signs of Mario Cipollini. I think he's made a little bit of a mess of this one, Big Mario, because in the middle in the white there is Konyshev, as now the sprint is opening. Stefan de Jong, and also this is Martinello trying to be led out here. As Martinello sits and waits here, Konyshev looking over from the left of the picture. The Russian who announced his retirement but has come back since, and now an attack here by the Lamprey team. So as we come down this coastal resort town, the wind is blowing across the course. The riders have left the move till it's very, very late indeed. But now they're going for it, and Martinello's off to the right of our picture. This is Stefan de Jong of Rabobank in the middle. Still Cipollini is not making the move we anticipated, and out of nowhere it is Ivan Caranta who has got an early win in the Tour of Italy. He got 2 stages last year. But Paul, by calculation, the pink jersey will go to Mario Cipollini.
Just by a mere 2 seconds because of that time out on the course, but we didn't see Mario Cipollini anywhere in that sprint. He obviously misjudged it. He spent a lot of energy, Phil, in the middle part of the course trying to get his time bonus there. I think, in fact, he may have come across the line in 5th place. You can see the red jersey at the bottom. This is Martinello on the front, down on his back wheel in the orange and white. There is the Rabobank rider. A big charge for the line coming underneath. The Polti rider there, in fact, is Jerome Blynavels. Then all of a sudden, down in the bottom of the picture there, you can see there, in fact, is Ivan Quaranta. He saw the gap opening, accelerated, and you know, it was that last 10 meters when he lunged for the line. I really don't know where he came from, but this man has got an unbelievable turn of speed.
Well, he certainly showed it there. He won a few stages of the Tour of Langkawi this year in Malaysia, 3 in fact, and now he's got what he wanted, a stage win in the Giro d'Italia. He's going to be pretty happy with that as battle resumes with Cipollini as well. No major climbs on the second stage. The riders continuing their journey south down the western side of the leg of Italy. This stage, the longest so far, 229 kilometers from Terracina down to Maddaloni. And the weather absolutely atrocious here. The breakaway has got clear, Paul. It went at 150 kilometers to go, so they've gone very early.
Well, it's unbelievable. Weather conditions like this you don't expect in the Giro d'Italia, well, certainly not in the southern part of the country. You know, it's almost a river these riders are going through at the moment. The Mapei rider we're looking at here is Andrea Noe, and even the cars have a hard time staying in front of this breakaway group. The Kelme rider in there is Jose Enrique Gutierrez, and the riders now, Phil, looking at 30 kilometers to go, but you've never seen roads like this, I don't think, in the Giro d'Italia.
No, and not surprisingly, slipping and sliding back in the main field. The breakaway, which seems to be deciding the day on this little circuit. It's a tough circuit right now, is Matteo Tussato, Sergio Barbaro, Simoni Bertoletti, Elio Aggiano, Daniela Contrini, Christian Moreni, and Carsten Kroon of the Rabobank team, who has been climbing extremely well. Bertoletti at 21st is the best placed overall, just 13 seconds off the race leader's yellow jersey.
Well, in the main field behind, there have been an awful lot of crashes as well, as riders are taking risks trying to stay at the front of the main field to keep themselves out of danger. On the front of the main pack, though, it is the work of the Seiko team of Mario Cipollini trying to keep him in the pink jersey. But, you know, I don't think they've done it right, because we've gone into the outskirts of the finishing town and Christian Moreni has actually jumped away from that group.
Well, he's taken his chance in these atrocious conditions while the bunch behind is slipping and sliding, and there's been a number of crashes now in the peloton. Gutierrez and Noe are 1 minute and 15 seconds behind the original breakaway of 6, so they're not going to get back now, and this man has left the other 5 behind and looks like he could be heading for his first ever professional win here. He's been a pro since 1998, and he looks as though he's conquered the weather better than anyone else. He was 44th overall this morning. Everybody split just by seconds after the prologue time trial. He's 17 down behind the race leader. He has a real chance now, Paul, of pulling on the pink jersey of the Giro.
Well, 8 seconds is advantage over the chasing group with Tossato, who was the favourite, I thought, to take the pink jersey, and the main field with Mario Cipollini a further 40 seconds behind. Cipollini's boys really haven't calculated this one correctly. They're going to have to really put the hammer down, Phil, over the last few meters to try and pull their man back into the pink jersey. But I think you're right. I think the pink jersey will go to this man if he can hold off the rest of that group, including Tossato.
Well, he wants to watch that white line in slippery conditions like this. He's only ever won one stage before in the Tour of Spain. That was his first pro win, as they're warming up here now to think of the sprint, I'm afraid, for second place, because Moreni is going to win this stage. I think he's just up the road, you can see him, and now have they left enough time to bring him back?
Well, I'm not sure they have. One dangerous thing today was the man on the back of this group, in fact, is Hernan Buenahora, a man you shouldn't let get into small breakaways like this on the flat stages, because he too could find himself riding to a high place in the overall standings at the end. Tosato, Phil, though, is just in front of this group, but nobody now wants to chase.
Well, there's the final compilation, and Noe has got up with Gutierrez as well, so they've strengthened this, because the breakaway has been outmaneuvered today by this Italian rider. 27 years of age, into the last kilometre now. He's going to get the greatest moment of his life, and if he can just hold a gap over that chase group, he will have the pink jersey of race leader as well.
Well, he's taking all the risks. He's inside the final kilometre now. This is the chase group behind, with Matteo Tosato, the rider in the white jersey, and the man at the front here really is doing an unbelievable job. Cristian Moreni, Phil, has attacked them just at the right moment, and because they were all looking to try and pull on the pink jersey, because everybody is so close together, they've marked each other out of this bike race, and you know it's going to go to Moreni as long as he stays upright.
Well, this is Buenahora tagged onto the back here. We normally see him in Kelme colours. New team for him this year, the Nectar Sella Italia team. He'll be just happy to be in the breakaway, I think, as we now line up for the finish here. And Moreni, the rides for the Leaky Gas team, the Italian. It's been a long day today, over 6¼ hours for the riders, but he's flying over the roads now because he knows he's racing to a pink jersey of the Giro d'Italia. He has to be ever so careful on these slippery roads. Matt Stevens of the Linda McCartney squad has gone down with a nasty crash today, and we hope will limp home to the finish. But this rider is going to be all smiles now, because he gets the victory and the clock is counting. Tosato was his main worry, and this in fact is Tosato who comes over. Look how annoyed he is. And Carsten Kroon for Rabobank, he'll be the new leader in the King of the Mountains, and Gutierrez comes over there in 4th place. Let's have a look at that again, Paul.
Well, absolutely fantastic. He took all kinds of risks on the run into the town here. He knew he had to try and stay off the front of that group. But you know, behind the man who's the big loser is Tosato, because if he'd been first man across the line today, Phil, he most certainly would have been in the pink jersey. And you know, what a great win by this young man. No wins at all to his credit, and what a day for him in the rain in Italy.
Absolutely, and he's, well, I don't know how they can drink champagne anyway. There's confirmation of the stage result. Tosato 5 seconds behind. The small win bonus from Moreni will confirm him as the leader of the Tour now by just 3 seconds over Tosato. Gutierrez will be up into third place, and Carsten Kroon up into 4th. He'll be 13 seconds off the pink jersey. I wonder if he'll grab it later. Well, maybe even today, in fact, as we continue now, 174 kilometres. Thankfully, Paul, the heavy rain has left us, and it's a very, very nice day now as we cross the towards the heel of Italy, generally in a southeasterly direction on this ride down to Scalia.
Well, it's a very hot day indeed for the bike riders, Phil. Almost 90 degrees Fahrenheit, but this is the overall classification. Moreni leading Tosato by a mere 3 seconds.
Yeah. And the first break of the day is underway here. This is Andrea Ferragato, and with him is Paolo Vallotti of Mobile Vetta. He's the rider in front. At the moment, anybody who breaks away has a reasonable chance, except these two are rather a long way overall.
You can see the beautiful weather that's come down to this part of Italy now after that unbelievably atrocious weather yesterday. But they are threatening that there will be thunderstorms again towards the finish of this stage.
Well, it's nice countryside. It's very warm down this part of Italy. Rolling hills, and the peloton know that they have a 14-kilometre circuit that once they get through the finishing line at Scalia, which has a small climb on it. And so they're just going to take the time here with these riders. The breakaway has had a maximum of 4.5 minutes, and it's starting to come down.
Well, they will be certainly picked up towards the end, because it is a very difficult run in here, Phil, at the finish line. And in fact, that climb on the circuit, they go up it on 2 occasions, and it is a very difficult climb. I think it'll catch one of the 2 of the sprinters out, because certainly it is the sort of climb that will make a very good launch pad for the men who want to try and get clear. But this has to be one of the most magnificent sights in Italy as we make our way down the peninsula at the moment. These 2 guys had a maximum advantage of 4 minutes and 5 seconds, but in the main field it is starting to get a little bit more interesting as we see a lot of the work of Mario Cipollini's team coming forward.
Well, in theory, this would have been one of the stages Cipollini would have marked down for a likely win. Remember, he's engaging in battle with Ivan Caranta, just as he did last year. There's the gap, which is now up to 4:38, in fact. Ferragato, Velotti, both of these riders many minutes behind overall. A first chance to see the pink jersey now. The new leader of the Tour, Christian Moreni, having the finest start to the Giro d'Italia he's ever had.
Absolutely magnificent. A beautiful day out for him in the pink jersey, but he's going to have to watch out for Matteo Tossato, because at the intergiro point just before the finish there are time bonuses, and Tossato is proving to be quite a good sprinter, Phil. In fact, there's 6 seconds time bonus for the first man across the line there. All Tossato needs is second place in that to get himself into the pink.
Well, off the climb then, and it's not surprisingly it's Seiko who are putting in a lot of work here now as they continue to lead the charge to bring back these two riders and to try and get this field together before they start the last 14-kilometre circuit. If they can do that, they will put Cipollini in with a chance.
Well, also Cipollini wants to tick away at some of these time bonuses as well, because he'd certainly like to try and get himself back into the pink jersey. The work on the front by that team of Mario Cipollini, Seiko, is starting to bring it down. It's now 3 minutes to these two leaders, and they're starting to look a little more tired than they did earlier. But this is a great team. This is a brand new team on the block this year, Fassa Bortolo. They are the team that has been put together by the man who used to run the Ariostia team, Giancarlo Ferretti, and he's put together a very good team, and so far this season they've had quite a lot of success.
Well, one man he seems to have injected a new lease of life into, I have to say, is Dmitri Konyshev. I thought he was going to pack in the end of last year. Instead, he's riding better than ever right now, but the gap is tumbling down now. 2 minutes 35 seconds. The beauty of this country never ceases to amaze.
But Phil, look at that. That's the distance. That's just where we're going to. And it looks as if we may well just get a repeat of those very bad weather conditions of yesterday. These two men are working very well together. They actually got clear with 112 kilometers to go. But certainly in the main field, the pressure is on right now. And this is a very fast part of the course, with all of the work on the front being done by Seiko. And it looks to me here as if Christian Moreni, the man who is wearing the pink jersey, has a slight problem with his knee there, and it could be because of those weather conditions yesterday. He might have a slight problem with a bit of tendinitis creeping in.
Well, let's hope you're wrong there, Paul, but the gap is stringing them out on this climb to 23 seconds and counting. They're going to, I think, close in then. It's 30 kilometres to go now, so there are about 16 kilometres from passing through the finish line of today's stage. And just look how the field now is beginning to show signs of wear and tear.
Well, this is the climb that the riders will do twice on this finishing circuit. As they go into town, they will face a circuit of 14 kilometres. On the front here, the pressure is coming from Matt White, the Australian rider. He rides for Francesco Casagrande's Vini Caldirola team. Matty White has been very prominent at the front here, Phil, putting an awful lot of pressure on. And you can see all of these guys are suffering as the rain is now starting to come down.
Well, the pressure is going on, and this here is Oscar Ribeira, who is the Kelme rider, and the group is trying to break up at the front here now. This is the tempo which was expected to come here. Moreni has got to watch out now, move with this front split, because it could well break the field up here on this run down towards Scalia.
Looking down there, a lot of this work on the front of the main field was in fact done by Mario Cipollini's Seiko team, and I don't see much of Mario very close to the front of the main field right now. In fact, I would expect he's an awful long way back. The two leaders are still off the front at the moment, Phil, but they are only just surviving. I make it around about 20 seconds to these two, and in fact, it looks now as if Ferragato is deciding to go alone.
Well, he is the man with the big reputation, really. 13 wins in his career, which started back in 1991. I suppose his biggest win will be the Leeds International Classic and the Grand Prix Suisse in 1996, which hoisted him right up the World Cup standings. But he looks as though he's decided it's not worth pushing home, Paul, because this is the first advanced scout coming up from the field here.
Well, in fact, the reaction there coming from the Mobile Veta team, and they're forcing themselves right off the front. This looks very much like Filippo Baldo, who's coming across here. In fact, this is Velotti, who is still in with a chance. In fact, I think that caption may well be wrong, because I reckon this is Baldo, who in fact is an extremely good bike rider, and he's come out of the main pack and leapt off the front.
It is Baldo, Paul, you're absolutely right, as the field now is being brought back, or is it a split here? The Kelme boys making the most of this, led by Jose Luis Ribeira. And this is a little group getting clear here of the field now, and this is a move, of course. This small group here is being dropped from the main peloton, while the front of the race is splitting up. Look.
And that was the top sprinter there, Ivan Quaranta, in the Ciclamina jersey going off the back. But this is quite amazing, Phil, at this part of the game to actually see the attacks coming from the Kelme squad. Jose Luis Rubiera going through there with Oscar Sevilla, and they are now announcing to us that the whole of the field is back together. I didn't see Ferrigato getting caught, but in fact we have got the majority of the main field here, and the man in the front of the split at the moment, Ivan Gotti, last year's winner.
Well, this is interesting to see him up here so early on in the Tour. We expected to see him a little bit later on in the mountains, but obviously feeling frisky. Incidentally, there was a crash on the run into the finish yesterday, and Fabio Baldato amongst the riders who were involved in that crash, and he was not able to start this morning, so that was rather sad for a sprinter. And this is Matty White, the Aussie rider, riding on the Vini Caldirola team. Looks like he's starting to split away from the group.
Well, I think Phil, what he's trying to do is set something up for his team captain, which is Francesco Casagrande, but he needs to be careful because the man he's dragging away here is number 91, and that is Gilberto Simoni, who was high in the rankings in this race last year. I think he took third.
Well, look at the split they've got in the field now. This is coming towards the end. Remember, we haven't yet gone through the finishing town before we go out on that loop, and these riders now at the front are trying to break it up. Matt White is now sitting at the back here, but I think he may have started something.
Well, this is a very difficult circuit around here, and it will have caught out one or two of the riders, and I should think Mario Cipollini is not too happy, because I reckon he probably counted this as a stage he could win. Gualdi is up there with Barbosa. There's Matty White. Wim van Savenvent, the Belgian rider, is in this group as well. We have about 9 riders going off the front, but the pressure is still on in the main field.
Well, Candido Barbosa is a very good sprinter. 20 kilometers to go. It's not long now before we pass through Scalia and head out on that final circuit. And the riders here now trying to get clear. They haven't got much of a gap yet. It's only a handful of seconds. Well, there you are. 10 seconds for these 6 riders clear. Nice to see Chan McRae in the break.
Well, Chan McRae will do a lot of work in the latter part of this Giro for the man who Mapei thinks is going to win. That is Pavel Tonkov. But it really is good to see Chan McRae up there already, Phil, being competitive. You can see now it's all starting to come back together, but there's 1 or 2 of the big sprinters certainly being tailed off this group.
Well, here we are now, back up with the leaders. Matt White leading the charge through there, and you'll never get any short work rate off this man. He puts the lot into it. Koos Murenhout is the Farm Freaks rider up there as well. And it's quite a breakaway, and again Konyshev looks as though he's near the front.
Well, Konyshev is a very competitive bike rider at the moment. He is in this group. Another man in this group as well is Mirko Gualdi, the rider from Mobilvetta. There's their advantage. You can see riders are actually forcing their way off the front of the group here, Phil. We can see 1 or 2 riders coming forward now from Seiko, so I suppose Mario Cipollini must be in this group, although he was reported to be in serious difficulty.
You know, these are difficult times for the sprinters. They're having to work rather hard to keep this field together, because this little group is dangling like a carrot in front of them. It's edged out a little bit to 14 seconds now. That's Barbosa sitting at the back. He's a very good sprinter if he can stay with this group towards the end. We're now into the finishing straight, but it's not the finish this time around.
Well, it's unlucky for some, because when they hear the bell, it will indicate 14 kilometers to go to the finish. One very difficult circuit, and they do, Phil, have to go up that climb once again. So I think a lot of the sprinters may well get robbed, and looking at the size of that group there are an awful lot of bike riders missing from the front of this main field today.
There was a sort out on the climb last time. We now have a real forward guard in the peloton. There's the clock starting. Konyshev wants to get on with the action. I've never seen such an impressive ride from him for ages, as the Seiko boys have got control at 6 seconds, and they're trying to drive this race back up as one. So clearly, Paul, Cipollini must be feeling good.
Well, he did get over that climb. I'm sure he was in difficulty, but that's Cipollini at the back end of that long line of red riders. He certainly must feel good. He's driving the guys on, but he's going to get caught out again, you know, with that very difficult climb. Paolo Salvadelli on the front here, a man thinking about overall victory here, but today he's decided to work for the team. As you can see, the red guard of Mario Cipollini's team all on the front, and again, it's looking ominous. We've been through the wind, but now we're in the final kilometre, Phil, and it's all up to Mario Cipollini.
Well, he's kept control of the race on that final circuit of 14 kilometres, and it looks to me now Konyshev swings away and goes off to the left as the train starts. And once this train starts in this sort of manner, then you expect Cipollini to deliver the goods, and he is a man that likes to come off the tail of the Seiko boys. And now they're going with their last man on the front here before Cipollini, but watch out, because the other sprinters know what's going on here. And in fact, we've got in there Tessato, who is doing so well and challenging now. Bonus will give him the pink jersey. But now Cipollini waiting until the very last moment here to be launched. And this is a typical move. He's organised his Seiko. This is the last lead-out man. It comes at 200 metres to go, which means that Cipollini in second wheel now is going to have to think about breaking for the line. Tessato is right behind him as they start to move the line. Jans Ferrada has got the front, shoulder to shoulder with Cipollini, who bumps Ferrada. And on the line, it is Cipollini who takes it, Paul. But you know, that bump, I don't think the referees are going to like.
Well, they certainly won't. There is Mario Cipollini. He was the first man to cross the line. We'll take a look at that one more time here. It doesn't look like a purposeful move there across. He bumps the shoulders of Ferrada. Ferrada has to slow down, gets going again. Cipollini gets his arms up, but I think he realises the judges are going to have to look at that another time.
Well, Tessato finished in 4th place, out of the bonuses there. Now, let's have a look if he's coming into the bonuses. Here is the collision. And as we look at this, in fact, the referees have announced that he has been declassed and put to the back of the bunch, and Jans Ferrada will be the winner of the stage over Guido Trenti and Martin Perdigero and Matteo Tessato. That's the top 4. But you know, these two don't really seem to be complaining to me.
Well, I don't think that was done on purpose. I think that was just a very unfortunate accident. And at the end of the day, despite all of the excitement in the sprint, as we get official confirmation that Mario Cipollini has been disqualified, the pink jersey will stay on the shoulders of Cristian Moreni, and Jans Ferrada, well, I'm not sure he'll be too excited about winning in those conditions.
No, I'm sure he won't, but the battle is set to continue as the race lead now stays with Moreni. So Cristian Moreni is still in the pink as we go on to stage 4 now, from Scalia to Matera, 227 kilometres, Paul, and the climb of the Vallicchio di Campo Tenesi, taking them up over 1,000 metres.
Well, that comes very early on in the stage. I think the thing is about this stage, Phil, there is a serious sting in the tail towards the end, because we've got a very difficult 3rd category climb in the last 20 kilometres at Monte Saglioso. And obviously today is going to be an incredible stage for the Spanish teams, because they feel that they can be aggressive. And in fact, we've got an attack off the front right now from Victor Peña.
Well, it took a while in coming, because in fact they covered the first 2 hours today at an average speed, can you believe, little more than 15 miles an hour. They certainly were in no hurry whatsoever, but now they're trying to liven things up again.
Well, unfortunately for Matteo Tessato, he was trying to get himself some time bonuses at the intergiro, because he's currently just 1 second behind Cristian Moreni in the overall standings, but he wasn't able to get up there at the intergiro because it was Ferrari who was across the line first there, ahead of Seniuskin, and Fabrizio Guidi in 3rd, keeping the pink jersey still on the shoulders of Cristian Moreni by a single second.
Well, this is Daniel Schneider, who's got clear now as we head down towards the finish, but he's got himself coming up to the one survivor. This is Peña. So we've got Peña and Schneider, La Française des Jeux, at 25 kilometres to go, but it's not far back to the pack, and there they are. And again, it is Seiko doing the work, still smarting from the disqualification yesterday of Mario Cipollini, who was looking for his 30th stage win.
Well, another attack coming out here. This looks like Fortunato Baliani trying to get across here. He's from that new team, which is half Italian, half Colombian, Celitalia Nectar. He's trying to get across to the leading group of 2. Daniel Schneider is the rider in the white jersey there from the Française des Jeux. But this is just how the Italian rider came bouncing out of that group. And you see the Seiko riders feel they just left him go, because I think they're trying to keep the whole of the group together to give Mario Cipollini a chance today. But I think the finish might be just a little bit too hard for him.
Well, he's got up to Peña and Schneider here, and now they've slowed right down, and that really isn't good thinking at all, because if they're looking for the stage win, it's not the time to slow down. There's still about 26 kilometres to go here. And now the tempo starting at the back by the Vini Caldirola boys, who are doing a lot of work there, because among the favourites is their team captain, Francesco Casagrande.
Well, that was Roberto Conti on the front, and they're right on the tail of this leading group of 3 right now, Phil. Again, this is the team coming forward. This is the team of Celitalia Nectar trying to get them off the front. This is Freddy Gonzalez now coming up there. This is a very aggressive team of Colombian riders. They're looking for the breakaway on a stage where I think it's a very difficult run into the finish here in Matera.
Well, this is the small climb and the 500 metres to the summit, and this is where they feel they can break up the field. And the Celitalia team have put all of their men in the thick of the action here. Still Gonzalez And Freddy Gonzalez here now trying to use the climb as a springboard and a dive down to the finish. But he'll have to go some because they're still chasing him.
Well, they're chasing him. The chasing is coming from the Kelme squad. This is the team we don't expect to see till the latter part of the Giro, till we get into the big mountain passes. But in fact, coming out there is Rafael Cardenas, the Colombian rider on that squad there. He now has made the junction. 2 riders at the front, and we're inside 250 meters to the summit of this very difficult climb.
So Cardenas and Freddy Gonzalez as they sprint out, and Cardenas gets the points at the top. The winner of the first climb today, by the way, was Carsten Kroon ahead of Mariano Piccoli, and Rafael Cardenas got third then. Now he's got a win there, so he's going to be close to the lead in the King of the Mountains, but I don't think he's scored enough points yet to take it away from the Dutchman.
And there, Roberto Conti, the great domestique, coming across the line in third place. Everybody wants to get off the front of the main field right now, and this is the champion of Belgium leaping off the front, Ludo Dirksen. We've seen an awful lot of work done by him over the last few days. He's in fact coming to the Giro d'Italia. This is his first bike race after a suspension for admitting himself to having taken banned substances.
But taking them for an illness, and in fact it wasn't the case of trying to cheat in the race, but because he confessed, they actually suspended him because he was supposed to have declared it beforehand. Well, he's back racing now, and there he is right on the front, still wearing the Championship of Belgium's national jersey there until the next one, which comes up at the end of June, 1 week before the Tour de France. Well,
the yellow jerseys there on the front, those are the team of Marco Pantani. This is Schneider now. He's been joined here by Danilo De Luca. De Luca wearing number 31, a young rider and a man that many feel would be a future star. And you know, he's decided, Phil, that this pace is too much, so he's going to go back to the main group, and Schneider is now leading the race on his own with an advantage of around about 5 seconds.
Danilo De Luca tucked away in 23rd place overall at the moment. And looking at the bunch here, wise decision, I think, because they looked as though they're quite well organised. Kelme trying to mix it in a little bit at the front here, as the race is now slowly but surely coming back together. That's Daniel Schneider, just the one man left out front. Takes a look over his shoulder there, and oh my goodness me, the back of the motorbike knocked him off.
Well, I don't know how that happened, but look at that. Somebody nearly lost it in the middle of the group there. The rider from Polti got his foot out but managed to stay upright, and nobody else has hit that bike rider. You can see him up now, Phil, in the middle of the road, but if we can have a look at that once again, it was happened just as the motorbike was coming by, and I think it might have been the wing mirror that clipped him as he went by. He seems to be okay, but I've rarely seen anything quite that dramatic.
Well, that was an incredible situation. Here we can see it again now. The motorbike going through the middle is a race marshal, and it's the back of his panniers that clip his wheel and take him straight out. I've never seen that before, and if you haven't, here it is again here. That is an amazing mistake, and it's a nasty fall too. He was very lucky there that he didn't break his arm. Anyway, the peloton, hats off to them. I don't know how they stopped, but they did. And so Schneider is now behind the race as the peloton heads down towards the finish.
Another quick look at that. You can see they just took him out unbelievably. What happened was Schneider was coming across the road there. The motorbike was trying to come through to get out of the way of the race, which is accelerating, and just hit his handlebars there and just knocked him down as if he was standing still.
Well, the race is still trying to break itself up here on this rather undulating run-in down to the finish as we head down towards Matera.
Check this out, the pink jersey, Cristian Moreni, is in second place here at the moment, Phil. He is riding an unbelievable bike race, but the attack is coming now at the front of the race, and you see this team now is really trying to force the pressure on. That was Petacci trying to get across there. They're trying to set something up for their man Tossato to try and get him some bonuses, and I think I caught a glimpse of Axel Merckx getting in the action there as well.
Well, we're looking down at a new group trying to form here as they start to move clear, and this is where the pressure goes on once again. That's Danilo De Luca sitting at the back of those leading 3 or 4 riders. He is also extremely aggressive right now as they're trying to move away from the field here, and also getting in on the action there is Enrico Cassani in second wheel behind De Luca, and this is Axel Merckx Paul, who's also in there. This is a good little move here.
A nice move for Axel, and I think his dad's going to get pretty excited because his dad's not too far away doing the commentary as well. The move now coming from Amica Chip's rider. This is Vitaly Kokorin, and he's getting off the front, but Axel Merckx has responded there. He's getting across the gap nice and smoothly, but the main field is right there at the moment, but they are under serious pressure. You can see the gap starting to appear. This is a very tough run-in.
Yeah, they're coming back together again, but again De Luca goes once more. What an aggressive rider this is, because as I said earlier, he is lying in 23rd place overall, less than 3/4 of a minute behind. He gets a small win bonus, and he could be in the pink jersey. Moreno, the leader, don't forget now, this is his third day in the Maglia Rosa.
Well, that's a great move by Danilo De Luca. That's obviously why he sat up and waited for the main field before. He knows the run in today is very difficult. There, look at that. There's Mario Cipollini. He's in serious difficulty because, in fact, he's hanging on to one of his teammates there. And if the judges see that, well, they won't be too happy.
He will be in big trouble again. He was hanging on to Mario Sciria there, and just getting a little lift up the climb, but the helicopter spotted it, even if the referees didn't. Now, a little composition of the group here. Paolo Lanfranchi, Enrico Cassani, Raul Montana, Danilo De Luca, and the third rider I missed, but it's Alberto Ongarato, I think. Anyway, that's the small group, and it's all over.
It's all come back together again. The pressure is on.
Look at De Luca, Paul. He's looking to go again.
He's flying. He looks so cool. You know, he's just waiting for the opportunity to get off the front at the moment. He's a magnificent bike rider. And, you know, they're already talking about transfer fees for this man during the winter season because everybody wants him on board. It's the Vini Caldirola team at the front right now. They're trying to set something up maybe already. And again, it looks like De Luca on the outside. Phil, he's going for another attack.
Well, this has been an unusual race today, but it's certainly been full of entertainment. And again, Danilo De Luca has launched another attack here, taking them very fast around that corner. But whatever you say, it is going to be Gruppo Compacto for the sprint finish.
Watch out, Konyshev is leading them out, though, in the left-hand side. Mario Cipollini is right up there as well, so he managed to recuperate and stay at the front of the pack. Leading them round, they've got the Lampre riders trying to set it up for Zverada. But right in the middle there's Konyshev, there's Cipollini in third place right now.
And Jose Gutierrez is the Kelme sprinter trying to lead it out here. Martinello coming through as well. And Cipollini made it look very easy. Look at the power of this man. Konyshev chasing him down. Cipollini gets it. Win number 30 for the Italian in the Giro d'Italia. As in fact, it was certainly Silvio Martinello who led out, but Paul Cipollini, when he is on full power, he is so quick.
I tell you what, and when he's mad after a disqualification as well, he seems to really get the bit between the teeth. If he hadn't been disqualified yesterday, Phil, he would have been 14 seconds behind in the overall standings, and with that win as well, it would have brought him a lot closer. There's confirmation, Cipollini ahead of Konyshev and Martinello.
But those 20 seconds should be enough to confirm he's the new leader of the Tour here, but we'll wait and see, as in fact he salutes the crowd for win number 30. Mario Cipollini is back on top. But he's not the leader of the Giro d'Italia because he's 14 seconds short of that. He's in fourth place. The lead stays with Christian Mareni now after 20 hours, and Matteo Tessato is 1 second behind. As we move on now to the 221-kilometre stage from Matera to Peschici. And in fact, the road to Peschici is a little bit hilly, especially towards the end. And this man in the pink jersey already in a little spot of bother, Paul, because the first Intergiro sprint today, a win for Ivan Caranta, not so important, but Tessato getting second and a 4-second bonus. If the race finished right now, he would lead by 3 seconds.
But what a move by this man who's been wearing the pink jersey. You know, Cristian Moreni is not going to let it out and hang up that easily. He wants to get out on the attack. The big attack now is coming from this man, Hernan Buenahora, who's trying to get off the front. In fact, this is Kepe Gonzalez, the little Colombian climber, a former winner of the King of the Mountains competition here at the Giro d'Italia. He has now got a slight advantage, and he may well surprise them all, Phil, because there is a very dramatic uphill finish.
Well, it's a good move by him. He's got a little gap, and we're on that climb. And Kepe Gonzalez, he's a super climber and former King of the Mountains of the Giro d'Italia and the defending champion of that title as well. And this could be good points for him here as he now tries to escape the field. The pink jersey, he is not going to give up that Maglia Rosa without a real fight, and hats off to him.
Well, he started the day with a 1 second advantage. At the moment, he has a 3 second deficit because of those time bonuses out on the course, but he is not going to lay down arms. He is still attacking, but this is the front of the bike race. This is Kepe Gonzalez, and I have to tell you at the moment, Phil, he's actually going uphill, but you wouldn't think it looking at this speed.
Well, he's being chased by Oscar Ribera, and I think with him there too is Massimo Codol, who got a first win of his career earlier this year in April time. And the field behind there, led by the pink jersey, absolutely defiant as he starts off another day in the pink, but he's not in it as we speak.
Well, he might be in it as we speak, because in fact he's in this small group of riders off the front. In fact, Gonzalez has gone down.
And the pink jersey's gone through. Well, we never saw the crash. Our cameras were back there with the helicopter shot, but now we can. And watch this. What happened on this corner? Jose Kepi Gonzalez, nobody near him. And why he crashed on that corner, Paul, I really don't know.
Well, it just seems as if the back wheel came from underneath. But, you know, he was going up that climb so fast, and that is a shame for this man, because I think he had the winnings of the stage. He is now being caught out, but the drama on the course is that, in fact, the pink jersey is in a small group of riders, and the man who was hoping to take that off him, Matteo Tossato, is in the back group here. The Fassa Bortolo team are going to have to do something pretty serious to pull back the pink jersey, because he may well still stay in it tonight.
Well, there was no evidence of the white jerseys of Fassa Bortolo there chasing them down, but now they're leaving the pink jersey to do all of his own racing here. Christian Mareni is going to have to work to hold on to his lead, and there's plenty of riders there willing to attack him, as again they launch another attack from the front of the bunch here now. Lamprey are causing trouble. I think this is Mariano Piccoli, isn't it?
It looks like Axel Merckx is in this group as well, Phil. They're inside the final kilometre, and if we finish the bike race right now, well, in fact, the pink jersey will stay on the shoulders of Christian Moreni. Watch out, though. Danilo De Luca's moving forward. Where's number 31? This guy is a fantastic bike rider. He's looking for a last-minute attack, and they're all coming back together. It's all come back together, Phil. They've all regrouped. On the front now, it looks like Vladimiro Belli is leading them round, and Lanfranchi is very much to the front too.
Well, Vladimiro Belli is on the front from Fassa Bortolo, and the man who is in the pack here, providing that Moreni does not get a bonus at the line, is going to be the new leader of the Giro now, as Belli leads out the squad here now as they come up towards the line. It's going to be a sprinter's delight again. Looks so Paolo Lanfranchi's tucked in there, and this is Danilo De Luca, a man who has promised so much. He's going to take this in the sprint, and a determined effort from Danilo De Luca. He gets in, Belli will be second, and Paolo Lanfranchi is third, and I think that was Francesco Casagrande in fourth place.
Well, it's important to see Francesco Casagrande move. It was Casagrande, a big pressure by him. But this is the man we will talk a lot of in the sport of cycling for the next few years, Danilo De Luca. The new leader on the road, Phil, this is him, Matteo Tossato.
So he takes over a very fragile lead in the Giro d'Italia, but there'll be plenty of more changes to come yet, I suspect. And in fact, Tossato leading in 3 of the 4 competitions. Now, the only one he hasn't got, Paul, is the King of the Mountains. He's on top in the points, the Intergiro, and indeed the Maglia Rosa.
Well, an unbelievable start for that team. This is the first year they've been racing on the international circuit, and certainly they've been put together by the man who many people think is one of the toughest team managers in the business, Giancarlo Ferretti. But this now is 10 kilometers to go, and this is Aliano Aggiano. He's from the Vitaligo Seguros team, and Maximilian Sciandri from the Linda McCartney squad is in there as well.
Well, this is the first time we have had a British-sponsored team riding in the Giro d'Italia. A lot of the Italian teams who didn't make the selection are annoyed at that, and they're off to a bad start too, unfortunately, because they lost 2 riders after the prologue time trial. Pascal Richard and Ben Brooks, the Australian, both out with some form of food poisoning. These 2 riders, though, are clear.
Well, this is a good move for Maximilian Sciandri, because if they do get off the front, he's got a great chance of taking the victory. You know, Sciandri is a very good sprinter in situations like this. Inside 10 kilometers to go, and their advantage, Phil, is not very much more than 15 seconds.
Well, they've been away now for some 12 kilometres and dangling a little more than 20 seconds. Oh, a lot less now. It's only 16 seconds over the main field. Tossato has had a reasonable day out there, but hasn't been scoring any bonus time, so he's going to have to watch here, otherwise he'll lose his overall lead.
Well, I'll tell you what, hats off to these 2 guys, Phil, because in the main field the pressure has been on for a long time. We've seen a lot of Mario Cipollini's team on the front. 5 kilometers to go to the finishing line, and it is hovering around 10 to 15 seconds all of the time. Sciandri looks very strong, but there on the front of the main pack, the red guard, Seiko Cannondale of Mario Cipollini.
Well, they might well be in line for another win for him here, but there's an attack there by a Stella Italia rider, and this indeed is Fortunato Baglioni, so he's not going to wait for the sprint.
And just on the point of Maximilian Sciandri being caught by the main field, this is the right time to attack. This is a good maneuver by this man here. He's got a slight advantage, but you know, in the main field, Phil, the red guard are on the front, and they won't let too many people get clear.
Well, there's a chaser, and again another attack coming off the front of the race here. We've now moved across to the eastern side, and this is an attack by David McKenzie, the former champion of Australia on the Linda McCartney team, so that's a good tactic.
Well, that's very good. He waited for his teammate there, Maximilian Sciandri, to be pulled back into the fold, but you see the red guard, Mario Cipollini's boys, are really looking for another victory. McKenzie has caught Baglioni and gone straight by him, but his advantage really is only around about 5 seconds over the main field.
We are not very far from the finish here. I reckon 4 kilometres or so, and the Seiko boys are taking the train past poor old Baliani. He's got the wrong name, really, hasn't he? Fortunato. And so too Mackenzie is caught. Now they're all together, and again Seiko are firing, looking for win number 31 in a Giro d'Italia for Mario Cipollini.
Well, Secchiari on the front there, he's just swung off. His job has been done now. They're leaving Mario Cipollini up here now. He's in 3rd position, but look right behind him. Ivan Quaranta is looking pretty confident as well, Phil, to try and make himself on the wheel of the big fast man from Italy.
Well, it looks once again as though we're going to have the top boys from the Polti squad here. Martinello and Jeroen Blijlevens are both right up there now as the counter-attacks are coming from the riders from Mobile Veta, because Caranta's in on the mix again this time. Haven't seen too much of him since he won stage 1 of the race, but it still looks to me as though we've got a lead out here for Blijlevens. Blijlevens is 3rd wheel at the moment, and this is not the right way for Cipollini because he's too far down the line.
Well, I can't see Cipollini's wearing the Ciclamina jersey today. The blue jersey of the Intergiro is being worn by Fabrizio Guidi. The Seiko team, Phil, they're looking around. Where is Mario?
He's about 12th down there and doesn't look as though he's going to come out to fight at all today. This is a brilliant lead out. There he is now. He is far too far away because I think it looks as though Konyshev has got himself to the front. The 34-year-old Russian who has become totally revitalized this year, and he is taking on Blijlevens for the sprint, and there's a sprinter for you, and he gets it. So Konyshev gets in ahead of Blijlevens. Gabriele Massaglia was in 3rd place, and Fontanelli was 4th, and Mario Cipollini absolutely nowhere.
Well, this is unbelievable. There you can see this is Konyshev right up against the barriers, and what I can't understand here is Blijlevens goes right across the road, sprinting for the centre, actually travelling a further distance. He comes up alongside Konyshev, but even with the throw, he can't get anywhere near the Russian. Let's have a look at the side shot of there. In the lunge for the line, it's at least a half a wheel advantage for the Russian. For a man who was about to retire from the sport, Phil, that is amazing.
Well, Konyshev won a stage of the Tour de France last year and had 2 other wins, but now he's got his 1st win of the season, and he must never have believed that possible. What a great win for him. There's the result. He beat, as I say, Fontanelli got 4th, Di Biase got 5th, and Bradley McGee sprinting well there, the Australian in the race for La Française des Jeux. As we now move on to the next stage, stage 7 here, taking the rise from Vasto to Teramo, 182 kilometres, and a long breakaway already in progress. Having broken clear after just 15 kilometres, David Mackenzie of the Linda McCartney team is out in front. Paul, he's had a maximum lead of over 12 minutes. And that's come down considerably now with 10 kilometres to go. It is down to just on 2, well, they're telling us here, 3 minutes 31 is the gap at the moment.
A very brave move by Mackenzie, and I'm pretty certain he's going to survive now, but one man got caught in the middle. In fact, Eddie Mazzolini at one time was closing in on this man, but you know, Mackenzie now knows, Phil, he's going to win. Look at the smile on his face. The man driving the car there, in fact, is Keith Lambert, who's flown in for the day to look after the Linda McCartney team as 2nd team manager. Eddie Mazzolini is 2.5 minutes behind in the main field, a further 1 minute behind him.
And this is Mazzolini here. Well, Mackenzie started the day 146, 50 minutes and 42 seconds off the pink jersey. He's not going to get too much closer to that as he goes under the 5 kilometres. All he wants to do now is hold on. He's gone through his bad patch. I think he now actually believes he can win this stage, and what a victory it would be.
Well, he shouldn't get caught now. He's inside 5 kilometres to go, and he still has over 2 minutes advantage, but the main field is hammering along at the moment. They're trying to pull him back in. They're taking out the cars from behind this man. 2nd place on the road for Eddie Mazzolini. He is about to get caught by the main field, but Phil, the gap now is coming down quite dramatically as we see the main field being led here by Mobile Veta, the team of the fast sprinter Ivan Quaranta.
Well, what a great ride this man has done. He won the Intergiro sprint at 95 kilometres, and then he won the little 3rd category King of the Mountains at Torricella. And now he's only got to think of a stage win here. He hasn't won many races. He's a fairly new professional. He knows Italy very well because he lives out this way and has raced as an amateur here. They know him too. But this is going to really vindicate the Linda McCartney team. He's given them a very early stage win in the Giro d'Italia. The organisers too will be delighted because they too are vindicated by taking this British team into the race. Here he comes on his way home now. He's still got plenty of time Time to him now is everything, because he's not going to be caught. There won't be a pink jersey, but this without doubt will be the greatest moment of his life. 167 kilometres in the lead for David McKenzie. All the time in the world now to wave to the crowd here. He is absolutely delighted. He'll be mobbed by his team when they get to the line, Paul.
Absolutely, great move by him. He was the one who really took the race by the horns. Had a maximum advantage. There's his team PR
John
man.
Deering, yeah.
I'm really happy with that. He's happy because today is the Football Cup final in the United Kingdom as well. That blue jersey was a Chelsea jersey he was wearing. This is the big sprint now. The Mobile Veta team on the front trying to set it up for Quaranta. Quaranta's in there very much to the front of the main field.
The race still being led by that 3 seconds overall of Tessato at the moment. Now, who's going to take it out here? There's some new people coming at the front. Martinello's come a little bit early, I think, out here. And remember that Konyshev is second wheel. He's sprinting so well this year. And alongside Konyshev too, we've got Vladimir Duma. There's an interesting name. Look at him, Duma coming off. Nobody expected this man to take out the bunch sprint. Konishev's going to make sure he doesn't. But as he comes up the line, he does get it. Vladimir Duma ahead of Konyshev and Martinello. But there's the story of the day. David McKenzie getting the victory, and that is absolutely superb for him.
Well, I do think now that the organisation of the Giro d'Italia, who invited them at the last minute and got an awful lot of criticism, can say, well, this team, Linda McCartney, deserves their place in this year's Giro.
Overall, of course, no change though. Matteo Tessato leads by 3 seconds over Moreno, and Enrique Gutierrez at 14 seconds, Andrea Noah at 25. McKenzie here, by the way, speaking in Italian to the interviewers, and I must say he's a pretty talented guy. Former national road race champion of Australia. Yes, I think you can tell on his face it was rather a tough day out for young McKenzie as we continue on the next stage of the Giro d'Italia. And these riders have shaped the stage today, Paul. 12 of them getting away, 42 kilometres from the finish. And the big favourite here now is Jose Enrique Gutierrez. You caught a glimpse of there, number 75. He's got Casablanca with him setting the pace. He could be the next leader of the Tour.
Nice to see Axel Merckx in here as well, Phil. Also Mariano Piccoli, but Kepi Gonzalez is in this group as well. This is a very serious move.
Well, this is the toughest stage so far, an enormous distance too at 257 kilometres, which is about 160 miles. And Karsten Kroon getting the first King of the Mountains and hanging on just about to his lead in that now, because he's not in this leading breakaway. As they continue now, an attack here coming now, and it's our old favourite again.
Danilo De Luca is launching himself off the front here. He's trying to get himself the pink jersey as well. He has said over the next few days, Phil, that is his main goal. He came to the Giro d'Italia to do two things. One was to win a stage, and the other was to try and get the pink jersey. He has to finish in front of Gutierrez there, because Gutierrez at the moment is above him in the overall standings. And you can see the Kelme riders have got a mark on that man.
And Gutierrez has got a mark on De Luca as well, because there he is, and Axel Merckx and Paolo Lanfranchi, the two Mapei boys, are up here too.
Well, Axel Merckx is riding a very good Giro d'Italia so far. Later on, though, these guys are going to have to turn the roles around, Phil, because they must work for Pavel Tonkov, a former winner of the Giro d'Italia. Paolo Lanfranchi on the far side, 125, looking very comfortable in this group right now. So too does Axel Merckx. But that group of 12 riders has literally exploded.
Well, we haven't seen too much of Pavel Tonkov yet. I hope he's going all right, because these two boys seem to be in a little bit of brother now, because De Luca here is hurting them all. This man is obsessed with the pink jersey, and he says he wants it. And in fact, you've got to hand it to Gutierrez, because I think he's suffering as well, but he's not allowing De Luca out of his sight. Overall, they're split by about 15 seconds.
Well, 15 seconds further back is Maximilian Chiandri, who was in that leading group of 12, and Filippo Casagrande. Chiandri obviously bolstered by that win by David McKenzie, trying to stay in with a chance of victory here. If he can just get over this mountain, he does have a great chance to take out another stage victory for the Linda McCartney squad. Here we are, Phil. This is the final climb of the day, and you know it is a very difficult climb, because over the top it doesn't plunge straight down in towards the finish line. In fact, there are a lot of false flats here.
Well, this has been a tough stage, and the distance too is going to bite into the legs of the Tour riders today. Paolo Lanfranchi is a tough individual, but this rider here attacks again and launches. He just will not give up. He keeps on putting in these incredible attacks. Gutierrez has dug deep this time, because he knows if he finishes with De Luca, he will be the next leader of the Tour.
What a great bike rider, Danilo De Luca. Everybody wants him on the squad. Here is the pink jerseys group. He's having a hard time today. He's got all of his teammates around him. They are just hoping to survive. But, you know, at the moment, the group Maglia Rossa is actually slipping away from the leaders. The leaders now are down to 3 riders. Lanfranchi is in 3rd position. Gutierrez is in 2nd position, just holding onto the back wheel there of the man who is flying, Danilo De Luca. The Banesto rider coming across there was Eladio Jimenez, now making a front group of 4. Axel Merckx has disappeared from the group, but he's around about 15 seconds behind.
Well, it was a big group. It's been split up by the attacking of Danilo De Luca. A chance to see the Tifosi here in the Giro d'Italia, as these riders have settled down together to try and split the rest of the field up. That is Eladio Jimenez with them, and this little group reforming at the front. The main field is not in contact yet. They're riding over a minute and a half back.
Well, this is the man who has the pink jersey. He has it by just a fraction, 3 seconds, in fact, over Christian Moreni. Gutierrez started the day off in 3rd place, Phil, and Danilo De Luca in 5th. But, you know, we will have to see a dramatic descent. But there's been a crash, and in fact, it looks like the Banesto rider trying to get back onto his machine there, and there's a certain amount of chaos.
Well, I think he's been in collision there with the race marshal, and that really is a sad sight here, and spectators as well. Well, that is a great shame, because it was a nasty right-hand bend here. And again, another instance of the crowd just getting too close to watch a bike race. He was coming wide for a right-hand bend, and it is, in fact, Eladio Jimenez who's gone down. I think the stretcher is for the spectator rather than the rider, as the leaders continue on here. Still clear of the field. Very nasty bend, that.
Very nasty bend. In fact, 1 or 2 riders getting caught out, but we're still now looking at a leading group of 4 riders, so somebody's made the junction. In fact, Axel Merckx has made the junction. He's managed to get himself back into the leading group, and it's swelling all the time because, in fact, Castelblanco has come back as well. Chiandri is trying to get across the gap, Phil, right now with, in fact, Casagrande, and they are 14 seconds behind.
So, an interesting little group still trying to get away. Gutierrez and De Luca locked in a personal battle here for the pink jersey. Looking further down, there's Max Chiandri, and it looks to me as though Casagrande tacked onto his wheel.
Well, let's not get the Casagrandes mixed up.
It's
That's Filippo, and it's
yeah,
not Francesco. But, you know, Filippo is a very good bike rider. The group now at the front has swelled to 6 bike riders, and these 2 are just hovering off the back. It is so difficult. They're hoping, Phil, and waiting for the descent off this mountain here to maybe take 1 or 2 risks and get themselves back up to that leading group of 6 riders.
Well, the beautiful countryside, that was a glimpse there of Maximilian Chiandri, but this is the little escape now, and the 2 Kelme boys are right up here. Maxel Works bashing out the pedal revs there. Danilo De Luca, watch out for him. Lanfranchi tagged onto the back as we now come to 25 kilometers from the finish here. These rides beginning to look good now, and in fact a little bit of help wanted from Joaquim Castelblanco. Some information of what's going on behind, I think.
Well, he wants to know what's happening. This is the Mercatone Uno squad at the front here. The amazing thing is, Phil, Marco Pantani brought in at the very last minute to the Giro d'Italia, but the whole of the team, whenever we see them, they're always riding on block. Now, this is a great comeback. This is Chiandri and Casagrande, and they are right off the back of the group. Now we're coming to 20 kilometers to go, and I think they just might make the junction.
They're just about on the tail of this breakaway of 6 lead, and there's been another crash here. That's on one of the bends, and it looks this time, in fact, as though one of the Kelme boys has gone.
Well, one of the Kelme boys, it was Gutierrez who was down there, but I thought I saw a rider actually off the road at that point.
Do you know, I think both Kelme boys have gone, Paul. I think Casablanco, there's one, and here comes the other one here. No, he's got round safely, just Casablanco. And again, I think what's happened is they've just knocked down spectators once more.
But you know what? There is another bike rider just off the edge of the road there. You know, the 2 Kelme riders, the first one to go down was, in fact, Gutierrez. Castelblanco was at the back of the group, and we now have a leading group of 4. There's a lot of talking going on, a lot of Italians in this group. This is Danilo De Luca. Chiandri has managed to make the contact on the descent there. Lanfranchi is here with, in fact, Filippo Casagrande. 4 Italians at the front of the bike race. Merckx was one of the guys who went down there, and he's trying to pull himself back up to the leaders.
Well, that's amazing, but it looks as though it was Axel Merckx who crashed there with Gutierrez. No sign of Gutierrez yet, and of course Danilo De Luca knows now he is lining up for the next pink jersey, so he's going to drive this race.
Well, Parra has come back on. This is the rider from Vitargo Seguros. He has made it now 5 riders at the front, but certainly I would think these 4 Italians, Phil, will ride very hard together because they've got a chance of having another Italian in the pink jersey tonight, because Gutierrez, who was looking like taking out that lead, is around about 15 seconds behind at the moment, so advantage now tipping over towards Danilo De Luca, who's currently in the front of this group. He's getting very urgent. In fact, he's taking a few risks there, trying to lighten his load.
Well, he almost went down then, actually, as this is Filippo Casagrande, who's up there now. He's still got these 5 riders. There they are for you. Para is the other man who's just come on. And in fact, these riders not too far ahead because Merckx is trying to get on terms. Gutierrez yet not in evidence at 10 kilometers to go here. It is looking rather good for Danilo De Luca to become the 5th leader of the Giro, and perhaps it's not now because Casablanco has waited for Gutierrez and brings him on at about 9.5 kilometers from the finish, and soon Axel Merckx, I think, might make contact. Oh no, it's a long way.
Oh, it's a long way. It's a long straight road in, and Axel's going to have a very hard time getting on here at the moment. But what a great comeback there by Jose Enrique Gutierrez and his teammate Casablanco. This is the pirate, Il Pirata. He's back, you know, Phil. He's in the Giro d'Italia, and he hasn't had very much bad luck so far.
And we haven't seen too much of him either, but the mountains are still to come that matter. Perhaps he's riding himself in because he can't be that much on form. Here's the latest situation, and 48 seconds back now to Susato's pink jersey group. He really has pulled this race back into line, and this has been a good late chase here, but 48 seconds is not enough for him to retain his race leader's jersey. He'd slip probably to 3rd overall at that rate. So they've got to pick up these riders. Now, as we pull back from the leaders, it looks as though Axel Merckx is still in with a chance of rejoining, but he's got a lot of work left to do.
It's very difficult. One man on his own, and let's not forget he's had a crash, but there, in fact, he's pulling them back all the time. Now, look at the power of him here, Phil. He's using a massive gear. I didn't expect him to get back on at the moment. He's around about 100 meters off the back of that group, and if they start to mess around thinking about stage victory in the last 4 or 5 kilometers, he certainly will make the junction.
Well, for me, it looks as though this breakaway is slowly but surely getting itself back into order after its rather rocky ride down the slopes. And Merckx here, ducking and diving through the motorbikes, a quick deep breath in the slipstream, and keeps on chasing. But he is certainly going to get back now, and there's going to be 8 leaders again very shortly.
Well, his teammate there at the back, Paolo Lanfranchi, just has to look around and see the big form of Axel Merckx coming forward, and he should drop off the back just to help him. Danilo De Luca not looking too happy now. He was actually looking at trying to get himself the pink jersey, but he's not going to do that because Jose Enrique Gutierrez, the rider from Kelme, has a much too big an advantage over him. Axel Merckx, though, Phil, what a great job. 8 seconds is the official time gap, but I actually think it's less than that.
Well, it's 46 back to the Maglia Rosa, and that's plus the 8 seconds. And now it's been a really superb ride by Axel. He's got to be proud of this one as he races back up to the group after his tumble on the mountain slopes. And he's done it, and he's got 5 kilometers to go.
Fantastic ride there by Axel Merckx. Absolutely brilliant. The front of the main field at the moment, though, is all red. It's the Seiko Cannondale team, but it's not for Mario Cipollini today. It's for Paolo Savardelli, who now is looking like a very solid leader of that squad, but they are still an awful long way back, and I don't think they're going to make the junction by the finish. There is Il Falco, the Falcon, riding at the tail end of his team there, keeping the pace high, trying to pull it all back together. But now we have a very compact group at the head of affairs.
So this little group of 8, which has now got itself sorted out at last, I don't think that breakaway can close down what is less than a minute now, because only one team is chasing. It looks as though Tusato and his Fassa Bortolo team are not chasing these riders down at 2 kilometers to go. And the odds are now that a Kelme rider will pull on the pink jersey, and if it all works out, it should be number 75, who is third wheel right now.
Well, this could be a nice day for Maximilian Chiandri as well, because Chiandri is a very good sprinter, but he always tends to get caught out by a last-minute attack. Danilo De Luca is looking strong, but Merckx is going to have an attempt. He's
having an attempt as you speak, Paul. He's gone to the right of the road, and nobody even took a look at him to react. Now they're going to have to do something about this. This would be an incredible victory if Merckx can pull this one off, because he's come back from the dead today to catch the breakaway at 5 kilometers to go. He's heading into the last kilometer. It's a difficult finish for a man on his own because he's dead straight to the line. But his father, who commentates here on Belgian television, well, I'd love to be listening in right now.
Well, I think he'd probably stop talking at the moment, because this is the moment when you've got to hold your breath. Axel Merckx has hit them at a very good time. 1.5 kilometers to go to the finish. He's inside the last kilometer now. Big risks going around this corner. He doesn't want to lose too much momentum. He's into the finishing straight right now, and certainly behind there will be starting to pick up the pace for the sprint. 2 very good finishes in that group, De Luca and Maximilian Chiandri. Merckx's advantage at the moment is just around about 3 seconds over the rest of the group, and they are picking up the pace.
Well, as Axel Merckx comes to line, it looks as though he is going to pull it off now with 500 metres to go. This will be a very, very satisfying victory as he beat the sprinters at their own game here. But the way he did it, it just shows you must never give up in a bike race, because he raced back to the group and he's left them in the run into the finish. Ivan Para is setting the chase behind, but he's not a sprinter and he's not going to catch him. Merckx knows it, a wave to the crowd, and then keeps his head down. He can't be sure. He has won only 2 races before this victory in his career, and now he has won a stage of the Tour of Italy. So Axel Merckx can add his name to the list, of which his father has quite a few. And Chandri, he gets over there in second place ahead of Filippo Casagrande. But that is going to be a superb victory in the Merckx household. Paolo Lanfranchi first to congratulate him.
Absolutely magnificent. Here's the rest of the main field coming in, and you know they're an awful long way behind, 49 seconds in fact, and it's Biagio Conti leads them across the line there. But that is going to cause a change in the overall standings tonight, Phil. But I'll tell you one thing, the bars of Belgium are going to be pretty full tonight.
You bet your life. This man is a very popular rider back home in Belgium, because he is such a quiet and innocent type of guy. There is Dad, and a lovely smile on his face as well. And it looks as though the scars there for you to see on his elbow from that crash. Well, his dad will be very, very satisfied with that, and I'm not surprised. This is the sprint for second place. Chandri can kick himself now, because he would have won this stage, and he knows it. But he gets second ahead of Filippo Casagrande, and in fourth place came Paolo Lanfranchi. New leader tonight, Jose Gutierrez, is now the boss of the Giro d'Italia by 12 seconds ahead of Axel Merckx, and De Luca up to third. Tessato is down into fourth place. And now it's the mountains at last in the Giro d'Italia. A really tough stage today, which includes the climb of San Pellegrino in Alp, which takes them up to 1,524 metres. And there's also a tough climb to the finish on this 138-kilometre stage now, which takes the rise from Prato to Abetone. A big crowd on the mountainsides, Paul.
Well, everybody waiting for today. This is the first real taste of the mountains at the Giro d'Italia. A Giro d'Italia that really celebrates the disappearance of Gino Bartali, the man who most of Italy regards as one of their greatest ever bike riders.
Yes, he always came to the Giro. He has died just before the start of this event, and Gino Bartali leaves behind many, many fond memories, not just, of course, his great rivalry with Fausto Coppi, but the fact he also won the Tour de France, split by 10 years because of the World War. He was an absolute legend in his own lifetime, a brilliant climber, an outstanding bike rider, and also a great man too.
A man never scared of attacking, and in fact he held not too far away from here, from the San Pellegrino in Alpi, where the riders are right now on the first serious climb of this year's Giro d'Italia.
And they're on the names in the first serious split too, because in fact they've cruised along to the base of the climb, as one might expect. But now they're going to soften up on this climb, and then there's the finishing climb still to come. And it's the first time really, Paul, we've seen the appearance of the clear race favourite, and that's Francesco Casagrande on the right.
Casagrande is on the right. The white jersey there is Vladimiro Belli, but moving forward now as well is the man that many think has got the chance this year, Pavel Tonkov. The highest placed rider in this group at the moment, though, Phil, is Danilo De Luca, in fact, and he is the man looking at trying to get the pink jersey today. He's been looking for the breakaway situation. Axel Merckx has been left behind. So too, in fact, already in difficulty on this climb is Jose Enrique Gutierrez, and Francesco Casagrande is putting the pressure on at the front at the moment, trying to blow this group to pieces.
Well, also here is Gilberto Simoni, who finished third last year, and indeed last year's winner Ivan Gotti. This is a very select group here. Well, Paul's mentioned the name of Pavel Tonkov. This is a man who has this love affair with the Giro d'Italia. Here he is now coming up towards the front. The first time I've really seen him in the thick of things, but he is a man who is consistently placed in the top 6 in this race.
On the far side there in the yellow you can see Stefano Garzelli. The man who hasn't made the split on this first attempt of the mountains is Marco Pantani, the pirate. He's been put into serious difficulty on the first slopes of this climb. That is not surprising, Phil, because after all he's been out of competition for 11 months, and here is the man who started the day in the Maglia Rossa, Jose Enrique Gutierrez. He at the moment is losing an awful lot of time on the leading group at the moment. Here is the pirate, 139 his number here, and this man came to the Giro d'Italia, Phil, 48 hours before the start, and I'm sure he was inspired by the fact that before the start of this Giro, they were all asked whether they would like to meet the Pope or not, and Pantani decided he would come to the Vatican and begin the Giro.
Well, let's hope he can ride himself into form. He's not giving us the indication yet he has those magical legs, and how can he, having really been out of competition for just about a year? Here, climbing the mountain now, is the rider who was the leader of the Tour, and behind him are Paolo Savardelli. This is an interesting little group, this one, Paul, and it's the first time we've seen the big stars out on the attack. On the climb of the San Pellegrino, they're taking us right up to the summit.
Well, everybody's going to be watching Francesco Casagrande, because at the start line this morning he announced that this was the place where he wanted to take out the victory, to salute the memory of Gino Bartali. Bartali did not come too far away from today's stage, and neither does Francesco Casagrande. They're wearing 181, but the control in this group now is coming from the Mapei squad. That's Andrea Noe on the front. On his wheel is Pavel Tonkov, but all of the big favorites are here. That, in fact, is Santiago Blanco in there as well for Vitaligo Seguros. He wears number 192. And there is Gilberto Simoni, third in this race last year and looking for another high place this year.
He really believes he can win this race this year, Gilberto Simoni. But there's a rider who also believes he's going to get that pink jersey soon, in second wheel at the moment behind Casagrande, who looks very, very strong, winner of the Tour of Switzerland last year, and now looking forward to what he hopes will be a win in the Giro d'Italia. He's well placed, but he's got to watch out for Danilo De Luca, who's now up to third overall behind Merckx and Gutierrez.
Another important climber in this group, Leonardo Pipoli, the Banesto rider, wears number 29. He's just on the back of the group at the moment. This is a lot further down the field, though, Phil. The man who started the day in the Maglia Rosa, the pink jersey of leadership, and he's proving to be in serious difficulty. Not surprising after the hard ride he had yesterday, and all he can hope to do today is to try and survive and not lose too much time.
I think you're absolutely right, and just look at the difference in pace here now, because he is something like 4 minutes behind this group at the minute, and this is Casagrande and Danilo De Luca, the next men with a lot to gain if they can keep the pressure on.
Well, Francesco Casagrande is keeping the pressure on at the front. Danilo De Luca will do everything he can just to stay with this group. He is not a great climber just yet. Let's not forget he's a very young bike rider, but he realizes he's in a superb position now, Phil, to try and get himself the pink jersey. The men who were first and second at the start of the day are further behind him down the field, but Francesco Casagrande now is turning up the screws, and in fact a lot of people are having difficulty just following him.
Well, he gives nothing away, does he? But he's keeping the pressure on there and stretching this group out as they climb up towards the summit now, the San Pellegrino. This is not the end of the race, of course. They go down the mountain to the valley, and then they climb up to Abetone itself, and that's where you should think of putting in the killer blow. It won't be a sprint today, you can bet on that.
Well, this, in fact, is Stefano Garzelli here at the front of the group. There is Pavel Tonkov, and, you know, this group is starting to split completely as we look there at Gilberto Simoni as well. And, in fact, Casagrande, Phil, has got a slight advantage over the rest of this group, and Danilo De Luca, ride of his life, is managing to stay with him.
De Luca is so determined in this race and so desperate. He's had a marvellous full first week of the Tour, and now he is trying once again to challenge for the Maglia Rosa. But he's got the race favourite now setting the pace, but he's gritting his teeth and he's hanging on just now.
Well, he's inside the final kilometre, not too far to go. He's just got to hold on to the back end of Francesco Casagrande a little bit further. He's not doing it right now, though, and this is the very summit, Phil. It is so steep. These final few bends really are agonising, and, you know, he's lost the wheel.
Well, he's only 24 years of age, a third in the under-23 championship, but 2 years ago he's made a big jump since then, riding alongside a famous name like Francesco Casagrande. I'm not surprised he's faded a little bit, but he's not that far to climb now.
Well, his legs have gone over the last 300 or 400 meters of this climb, and, you know, I think he should be able to make the junction on the descent, because it's a very tricky descent off this mountain here, Phil, of San Pellegrino in Alpi, and then there is just the final climb of the day, which is not quite as steep as this climb, but it certainly is a very long ascent up to the ski resort of Abetone.
Well, Casagrande pushing on. I'm not sure that Casagrande plans to try and stay away to the end. He might attempt to regroup, so De Luca here wants to keep it going. Sorry about the little bit of a problem with the camera, but that's up to do with the links. There's the Pirates flag flying, but he's not in the group, I'm afraid. He's struggling a little bit behind today.
Well, the Pirates flag is certainly not flying at the moment. I think what he wants to do is try and ride himself into some form so that he can be competitive later on in the season at the Tour de France. He will, though, be a man who will ride himself into condition, and I think really, Phil, that is one reason why these guys have gone out on the attack today, because this first mountain stage is a chance to get rid of Marco Pantani. There's been an awful lot of talk of Marco Pantani over the first week of the bike race, and now we can see finally Francesco Casagrande has got rid of everybody on this mountain climb. He said before the start, this is where I will attack. You know, announcing the colours early like that is a very brave thing to do, but he's living up to it just now.
Absolutely, he sure is, and he's looking over his shoulder here to see if De Luca's coming up, but he isn't. In fact, he's losing ground just now as we twist our way up towards the summit of San Pellegrino. It is a really vicious climb, this one. But Casagrande is looking awesomely strong. Here we come up towards the top of the climb for the mountain point, steepest climb of the race so far. Incidentally, Carsten Kroon, because of all his early points, is still the leader in the King of the Mountains, but we're not seeing him at the front on the steep climbs at all.
Well, it's a long, hard day for Carsten Kroon. He rides for the Rabobank team, the Dutch team. They're not used to the big mountain passes, but at the moment you can see De Luca now has been joined there by Belli and Stefano Garzelli, so they are second, third and fourth on the road. But over the summit of this climb, where Francesco Casagrande has an awful long way to go to the finish, because the summit of this climb is 29 kilometers from the finish line.
Well, Casagrande will have a big question to ask himself once he gets to the top, whether to wait for perhaps De Luca and try and just stay away to the last climb, because he knows he'll drop De Luca on it, or whether it's necessary to regroup with that small group that's chasing just behind. The clock starts under the banner, and this is the winner at the top of the San Pellegrino. And now, once he's over the top, he starts the plunge down to the valley.
The most important thing for him, Phil, is to try and find out what the time gap is between himself and the group, which is now 3 riders strong behind him. If he has around about the 1 minute mark, then he will keep going, because basically this climb drops right down into the valley below, and it's immediately straight uphill again. He won't have to put too much effort in. You can see now that the next man recovering there on the climb is Gilberto Simoni. He's moving himself up to Garzelli, Belli and Danilo De Luca.
De Luca is still the man for the pink jersey if he can keep control of the escape of Casagrande, because there's no doubt that Gutierrez is out of it now. He is too many minutes behind in the groups behind, and there's still another climb to come. But although we appear to have gone over the summit, Paul, they are still dancing at the front here. The clock has started further back, I think.
Well, it certainly has. You can see this is an unbelievable crowd that have turned out here for San Pellegrino in Alpi. This is the first major rendezvous of the Giro d'Italia this year. Danilo De Luca moving forward there. He's trying to keep himself in contact in this bike race. He knows that if he can stay fairly close to Francesco Casagrande, he can get himself the pink jersey. He's already got himself a stage victory. And further down the road, you can see there, Salvadelli is in serious difficulty. Salvadelli came to this Giro d'Italia as a man expecting to win after a very good performance in the recent Tour of Romandie, but now he's losing time on the first big mountain pass.
He seems to have peaked with his form before the start of the race, because he's been going steadily downhill since he got that narrow defeat in the opening prologue time trial. We've never seen Ruska since. I guess he's waiting for another time trial, because he hasn't been able to live with these boys on the mountains. Now we are coming up to the top of the San Pellegrino, and Francesco Casagrande, who's led for half of it, is now going to set himself up for the cruise down. But, well, will he wait, Paul, or will he try for it?
The important thing for him is just to try and find out exactly what the time gap is. He will get the information passed forward to him probably by race radio and the team manager, who will be right behind him. I think if it's around about the 1 minute mark, he will keep going. Otherwise, he may well sit up and wait for this group of 4 riders. These are some serious contenders now for the overall standings in this year's Giro d'Italia. And there is the leader of the Mercatone Uno squad. And I think he'll be happy with the fact that he is in front of Marco Pantani, the pirate, who is riding his first mountain pass in the last 11 months.
Well, these guys are only about 20 seconds back. It was De Luca, Simoni, Garzelli and Belli over the top of the climb. And the climb continues to go on as we go back here now a little way down the road here to find the Maglia Rosa in all sorts of difficulty today. There's still quite a way down the climb.
Well, in fact, the Maglia Rosa is in contact with the pirate. Marco Pantani is in this group here, surrounded by teammates from the Mercatone Uno squad. You can see them with the yellow jerseys at the front. And in fact, now on the descent of that climb, Francesco Casagrande is flying away, and he has around about a 35-second advantage over the group of behind of 4 riders.
And looks like Axel Merckx is in here too, and he is losing ground and losing his overall position as well. As we go back to the leader now, lessening descending from Casagrande. He's certainly not waiting for them. If they're going to join him, he'll accept that, but he's not going to wait for them.
You got a quick glimpse of the clock on the car there. That was 80 kilometers an hour. That's 50 miles an hour on this descent. A very rapid descent here off San Pellegrino in Alpi, and around about a 15-kilometer descent. As soon as you get to the bottom, there's no flat in this course at all. You immediately turn upwards again, and you've got the final ascent of the day up to Abetone.
Well, that looked like Ivan Gotti there from the cameras up above, chasing down the mountain, and they're not far behind because they were part. That was a very wide right-hand bend, Paul. He just pulled it back.
He used an awful lot of the road there. He's certainly not waiting for anybody on this descent. He's cutting off the corners. He's over the summit of San Pellegrino now, 1,525 meters, and you can see this is a fairly smooth descent, averaging out at 2 or 3%. Once he gets to the town in the bottom, then it's again straight uphill to the finish line. It looks now as if we still have the same four chasers. De Luca very urgently on the front with Simoni and Garzelli, and of course the man who's managed to get on the back of there, Vladimiro Belli.
Well, let's go back up with the leader here now, because Casagrande is free as a bird at the moment, the Vini Caldirola rider, who's come here as the favourite to win, and now he's playing his cards on the 9th stage of the race, the first real tough mountain stage. The San Pellegrino climb is behind. He's won the maximum points there. He is now running down towards the finishing climb up to Abetone, and that, although not as steep as San Pellegrino, is a really tough climb. It goes right up to over 1,300 meters from a climb, and this crash. This is Moreno. I think it looks like Moreni who's hit a car.
It is. It's Christian Moreni. In fact, the man who was leading this bike race just a couple of days ago. He's gone into a spectator's car at the side of the road. He did not look very good at all, Phil, but I do believe that he is back up and riding his machine, but that was a very nasty crash.
Well, that is a great tragedy. Moreni appears to be riding again, but he's a bit shaky to say the least. There was always the risk of a crash because these corners coming off San Pellegrino are very tight indeed. You need a full concentration on here. As we're looking at the speed now, slowed down to 42 kilometers an hour because we've just started a little bit of a climb again now.
Well, we've got around about 13 kilometers to go to the finish line. We are on the final slopes of the day up to Abetone, and the advantage the advantage for the moment of Francesco Casagrande is still around about the 1 minute mark. The group has swelled from behind because although Pavel Tonkov was dropped, Phil, he's managed to integrate into the leading group again with his teammate Andrea Noe, and in fact there's a very strong group starting to form behind the lone leader. This now is Andrea Noe digging very deep with Pavel Tonkov in second position here, trying to pull themselves back into the race. But once again, when it comes to the first big rendezvous, Pavel Tonkov is put into difficulty in the climbs.
Well, I'm not sure where the clock marker is, but if it stops we might get some idea. But it's certainly a minute now, the gap, as it comes off the screen. He looks very cool, and he's pushing an enormously big gear here, Casagrande. He's on his top chain wheel as this group gets bigger and bigger. Ivan Gotti is here, Garzelli, Simoni is here, and they are getting more and more. There is Belli, number 65. There is Ivan Gotti, making a desperate attempt to stay in the picture here, last year's winner.
The other Fassa Bortolo rider who's managed to creep into this group is Dario Frigo as well. So Fassa Bortolo, despite having held the pink jersey now, are seriously looking about moving another couple of riders forward in the overall standings. Leonardo Pippoli, the man on the back there for Banesto wearing 29, is the little climber, the Italian on the Spanish team. We're inside now, 10 kilometers to go to the finish. But look at that, 1 minute and 43 seconds is the advantage of Francesco Casagrande. He's riding himself into the pink jersey today.
Well, he's certainly, this man here is now 5.5 minutes behind the leader on the road, so he has certainly lost that pink jersey and also any chance of coming back, I think, to win this tour later, because he's too far down now. Danilo De Luca again has seen somebody apparently come around him and take the spot he's been trying to claim for himself, because Casagrande now is free and is looking like he's going to pull this one off. 5 kilometers to go to the top, and I think he's got the gap now to give him the lead.
He certainly has. He's flying. He's not showing any signs of weakness at all. Marco Pantani, by the way, is more than 4.5 minutes behind at the moment, and we haven't yet gone to the summit of this climb. Danilo De Luca now a little bit broken, Phil. He felt as if today was the day he was going to get his chance for the pink jersey. The team management coming up alongside him. He needed to stay in contact with Francesco Casagrande, but when Casagrande attacked on San Pellegrino in Alpe, there was nothing he could do. That man was flying. We're now looking at Salvadelli. He's also a long way down the climb. I make it somewhat 2 minutes behind at the moment.
Well, that's going to leave a lot of fighting for Salvadelli, but the pink jersey is now over 5 minutes back, so Gutierrez has lost out. De Luca seemed to be the next man in line, but this rider now, Casagrande, only has to finish a minute in front of De Luca to become the new leader of the Tour, and he's got more than that at the minute.
Gilberto Simoni is on the front there, wearing 91, third overall last year. He too is riding high in the overall standings. He feels he's got a great chance of winning the bike rider this year, Phil, because he knows that there are an awful lot of big mountains to come. There's the announcement there, virtual Mayo Rosa on the road. This man is riding himself into the pink jersey. He has to keep going though, because he needs, as you say, about 1 minute advantage over Danilo De Luca. Otherwise, De Luca will be the new leader of the race.
So the winner of the Tour of Switzerland last year is now in the lead here, or he will be, I think, in a few minutes' time, of the Giro d'Italia as he enters the final kilometre now. He has built a big time over the rest. It is over 1.5 minutes now.
Well, that's a huge gear he's pounding there. This is the chase group here with all the other favourites. He's showing himself now, Phil, to be head and shoulders above anybody else in this bike race. He's now just going to solo to victory. This will be a magnificent lone victory for him on the day when he said he would come out and do the business. He certainly did that on San Pellegrino in Alpe. He actually didn't really attack. He rode from the front of that group and blew everybody off his wheel, and then took the responsibility of making a magnificent descent down into the valley and continuing with his effort on the slopes up here to the outskirts of Abetone. He's getting so much closer to the finish. The important thing for him is the clock on the finishing line, and he will then see whether he will pull on the Maglia Rosa.
Well, he needs 1 minute over Danilo De Luca, who is in the chase group behind, down there below us now in the helicopter. Casagrande heading for what will be a first ever stage win for him in the Giro d'Italia. He's just 600 metres away from it now. He has had something in the region of 20, 30 wins last year, up till last year, under his belt. And so now he's looking to add one more here. He's already won this year the Flèche Wallonne Classic, which he did in April.
Well, most people felt that this man was a serious favourite before the start of the Giro d'Italia, and some people even feel he may well be able to do the double, that is to win the Giro d'Italia and the Tour de France. The chase there behind, all the pressure coming now from Pavel Tonkov, taking the responsibility of keeping the pressure high in that group of what is now 9 bike riders, and all the major contenders, Phil, are in that group behind, and only one man is flying away from them.
And but there are a couple of star names missing from that group behind. Marco Pantani isn't there, Salvadelli isn't there, the current race leader Gutierrez has missed out. They are behind now and losing big time to Casagrande, because he is about to stop the clock, and then the gaps will start to open. This has been a great demonstration, going away like he did on the climb of San Pellegrino, and he was only over the top by about 20 seconds on the chasers, but he made such a descent down the mountain that they lost time rather than pulled him back. And he decided to go all of the way by himself, and now as he comes up in front of this massive crowd here at the top of the climb at Abetone, he is, I think, going to be the leader of the Tour, but we'll have to wait, Paul, because the clock starts now.
Well, the clock starts now, and the last time check we had was around about 1 3/4 minutes, and it's going to be a long time before we see the rest come in. A magnificent ride there by Francesco Casagrande, and I'm fairly certain, Phil, it's going to give him the advantage, big enough advantage, to take the pink jersey away from Danilo De Luca, who is in this group at the moment. But there are some serious climbers in this group. There is Vladimiro Belli. The sprint is starting now as Dario Frigo opening up the acceleration. Stefano Garzelli in the yellow moving up into second place.
Well, this is going to be, it looks like Dario Frigo is going to get the sprint for second. Garzelli's on his wheel. Is he going to let him have it? I don't think he is, the way he's going. coming off on that bend. Gone round the long way around though, all the long way around. But he's still got the legs. Garzelli coming away for second place, but look at the clock. So there's no doubt now Francesco Casagrande is the new leader of the Giro, and he is the 6th leader. There's the stage result. Garzelli over Figo, Simoni, De Luca, Gotti, Tonkov, finishing 7th, and Belli 8th, all in the same time. And the Maglia Rosa, confirmed here now, has gone across to Francesco Casagrande, and that was a superb result for him. He's a few seconds ahead of Danilo De Luca. 1 minute 39 over Andrea Noe, and Stefano Garzelli is now up into 4th place. And so we now move on to stage 10, and this is a flat one, and it should be for the sprinters from San Marcello Pistoiese to Padova. 248 kilometres though, Paul. It is a very long way.
Certainly a long way, but certainly a day which is specially made for the sprinters. After the early climbs were left behind them, the rest of the course is fairly flat.
And so the riders, when we join the action, are approaching the finish. They are all together, but Carsten Kroon, the leader of the King of the Mountains, has crashed and is riding behind the race, believed to have a broken arm, but he's still on his bike, while the Lamprey boys here now are thinking of Jan Zerada, no doubt.
Well, the man on the front here is Ludo Dirksen, a very strong bike rider. They're setting the pace here for their man Jan Zerada. Also a very big organisation today, Phil, coming from the Fassa Bortolo team, the white jerseys there, trying to keep their man Dmitri Konyshev right up at the front of the bike race, because for the moment he is the leader of the Ciclamina points competition. He'll be right up there. You can see him on the left-hand side there, keeping on the tail end of his boys. But the big organisation, the red jerseys, the red guard of Mario Cipollini, looking pretty confident for Super Mario today.
Well, there's Konyshev down the bottom of our picture, looking for another good stage result, and points towards that jersey because he is riding so well in these mass sprints, and that's certainly what it's going to be now, with Dirksen giving us a big turn at the front here and stopping the Seiko train from getting control of the peloton for Cipollini. The big sprinters are still very much in this race, having only had the one serious mountain stage, and they are trying to hold it together. It's the way it's shaping up here, Paul. It's going to be a Zverada-Cipollini confrontation.
This is amazing, though, the turn on the front here being done by Ludo Dirksen, the champion of Belgium for their Lamprey squad. He's keeping the pace on. The amazing thing about this guy, Phil, is he can do a turn at the front for around about 2 kilometres, then he just swings off. Looks over his shoulders there to see where the rest of the Lamprey boys are, and his teammate now takes up the pacemaking. There in 4th position is Jan Zverada, and right behind him is Mario Cipollini. A big lineup as well of Polti riders there, and strangely enough it seems as if in fact Martinello is always getting the better of Jeroen Blijlevens in these sprints.
Blijlevens has not ridden well at all here as a sprinter, and that is why he's here, of course. As we look down now onto the back of Gabriele Massaglia, he's given such a lead out there. The team have had to come up to him. He had to wait for them, I think. 3 Lampreys, then about 5 Seiko, and then the 2 sprinters are riding almost shoulder to shoulder, Zverada and Cipollini.
Well, all the riders in there as well for Polti. This time, in fact, their own Blijlevens is up there as well, Phil. Now the big attack coming. This is an attack, a surprise attack coming from the Mercatone Uno boys. This looks like Fabiano Fontanelli who's getting off the front here. He's a very good man at this kind of surprise attack.
He's also had stage wins in the Giro d'Italia before, as Fontanelli tries to take a flyer. That's the way to do it, and he's gone under the kilometre, and he's still got a good lead here. He may have caught the sprinters off guard, because it's Lamprey now who are trying and can't try anymore. They're handing over to a 5-man Seiko train now, and Cipollini could be on for the perfect lead out. It is going to be a rough ride through the finish. Cipollini is the 4th man at the moment. Zverada is the sprinter on the Lamprey team. He is the 5th man, and Fontanelli still hanging on here and is still in with a chance of 500 metres to go. But the final chase down now coming from Seiko. There's a sharp bend coming, and in fact Fontanelli didn't even bother with it. He's allowed them to go through on the inside. This is looking like the perfect lead out now, but watch out for Zverada. He is 3rd wheel here as they fan for the line now of 50 metres, and Zverada takes on Cipollini, and that is Caranta who's come through on the rails. And Ivan Caranta, what a turn of speed that man has. He came from absolutely nowhere, as he did when he won the first stage.
Well, you know, Mario Cipollini has got the perfect lead out here. He's got a man right in front of him. On his wheel there is Jan Zverada. But look at this acceleration now. Quaranta, as soon as he saw the finishing line, he turns on the gas, and he's going around about 5 kilometers an hour faster than Super Mario. Mario looks across and he knows that that's it. He backs off the pace a little bit, and by doing so he allows Zverada on the right hand side to come by. He's going to get second, and Super Mario, I think, has found the man who's going to take over his throne.
Well, Cipollini doesn't like to race for second place. Once he realised he'd lost the stage to Carante, he sat up. This younger man is showing now in his second Giro as a stage winner how well he can ride, and he tells the crowd as well. Third place going to Cipollini's, Rada gets fourth, there's the confirmation, Zanotti fourth, rather, Blyleven's in fifth. No change at all, Francesco Casagrande keeps the Maglia Rosa in the Giro. So we move on now to the 42-kilometre race of truth, the individual time trial from Lignano Zabbiadoro to Bibione. Now then, Paul, there might be a change here.
Well, certainly there could be, because you know there are some very good time trialists here, and I think most of the bike riders today would really prefer to be out on the beach rather than riding this very difficult course. It's completely flat, 42 kilometres, and the kind of time trial course that really suits the big strong men, and I think maybe we might see the return of Pavel Tonkov.
Well, you might be right, Paul, but don't forget there is a strong wind blowing over the last 20 kilometres of the course. There's a reminder how we stand in the overall classification. As always, we start in reverse order with the champion so far, Francesco Casagrande, starting last.
Well, this is Sergei Honchar, a very big specialist at the individual time trial, and Phil, this is the sort of time trial that would suit him. A very strong bike rider that used the time trial stages last year to move himself high up in the overall standings. Gonzalez is the early leader ahead of Andrea Peron, and a good ride by Eric Decker in third place, but all of the big names are still to come.
Decker on his way back, by the way, after a broken elbow in the Paris-Nice race this year, so that is a good ride by him. But let's get out on the road. The last 20 kilometres, as I say, is a very strong wind here, so as the riders come round towards the end, they may struggle a little bit. This is Sergei Honchar, and out on the course, and his times at the Czechs are the best. I think we expected that, Paul.
We certainly did. He's a huge bike rider, very strong man, as we see the next guy leading off here. This is Victor Peña, or no, in fact, this is Jan Hruska, the winner of the opening time trial, the prologue time trial. He also is a very good bike rider at this kind of event. This man, though, Marco Pantani, he's about to get caught at the moment. You know, Pantani is riding this Giro d'Italia, Phil, really for a form of training and a form of preparation to get himself back into the overall standings at the Giro d'Italia. This is Thomas Broznia going by him. The intermediary time splits, though, are all tilting towards the advantage of Sergei Honchar.
Well, we expected Honchar to at least do a ride in the time trial, even if it's not going to move him too high up the overall classification this time around. Marco Pantani, and as he comes up here towards the line, it's not going to be a great ride by the Pirates, not the ride that he was putting in last year's time trials, but clearly he is riding himself into the Tour. And there were times when we didn't think he'd get through the first week.
Well, he's still in the bike race, a lowly place for him, 85th place overall. This is Jan Hruska. He also is a very smart time trialist. We saw him win the opening time trial in the Vatican, take the first pink jersey, but the big rivalry he's going to have at the moment is from this man, Sergei Honchar. They are both actually fairly close together, Phil, at the intermediary time splits at the moment, but look at the size of gear that Honchar is using. You know, for a time trialist, he doesn't have the smoothest style at all, but it certainly works.
And Casagrande kicks out of the start house. Last man to go now to wrap up the day's racing. He chases everybody on the course. He was suspect in the time trial in the recent stage races in build-up preparations for this, and it'll be interesting to see how he will go on this sort of course. Well, this is Sergei Honchar, and already his time is outside the best time at the finish. Hugo Peña is in with 49 minutes 25, so Honchar here has slowed a little bit and is chasing second best time now, and it's that of Gonzalez. So Alvar Gonzalez has done a very good ride for Vitalicio. They really have done well. They're first and second just now. Honchar, I think, is about to split them. That's Santiago Blanco at the back, but as they come to the line, yes, Honchar goes second, Gonzalez down to third.
Well, that was a very good ride for him. Over the early part of Phil, he was actually posting very rapid times. There is confirmation. Victor Peña leads at the moment ahead of Honchar, and Gonzalez de Galdiano in third, 1:32 down.
And pushing the others down the list as we go back out onto the course again. This is Danilo De Luca, another rider who keeps riding so well, while down at the end of the classification is the pink jersey there of the Giro rider. Now, as we go back towards the line here now, this is the continuing arrival here of the Leaky Gas boys.
Looks like David Rebellin coming in now. Right on his wheel is Paolo Lanfranchi. Not a very good ride by David Rebellin. He's looking at a top 15 spot at the moment. Paolo Lanfranchi, who's been caught, he actually started 2 minutes before David Rebellin, and not a great performance by him. But you can see Rebellin is pushing it all the way to the line. Everybody at the moment is still trying to pull themselves into the pink jersey slot.
Well, I think David Rebellin has lost a lot of ground here, Paul, because there's still a lot of riders to finish as he droves into 15th slot. This man continues to ride well, but his time checks are not rivaling that of Peña or indeed Sergei Honchar. So here's the arrival of Ruska. These are, look at the clock now. This is the prologue winner by that magical 52 thousandths of a second. He is not going to win this, though. His teammate Peña still stays number one as Ruska comes up to the line, goes into second now. So again, Vitalicio have first and second on the leaderboard. What a fantastic ride by that team.
Absolutely fantastic. The next man to the line will be Paolo Salvadelli. Not a great ride by him either, Phil. He's going to finish outside the top 30. Well, he just scrapes in 29th, 53 minutes and 30 seconds.
And he doesn't look at all happy with that ride either. But this man is losing ground to a lot of star names now. This is not an outstanding performance by Casagrande at all. He is still in a little bit of trouble out there. Stefano Garzelli also riding reasonably well at the time checks. He is quicker than Francesco Casagrande. Tonkov too is quicker than both of them, so he also appears to be on a reasonable ride. But the big surprise still in at the finish is Victor Peña. Now it looks like Axel Merckx also down the pan a little way today as he just about scrapes into the top 30 as he comes in 29th thus far, a stage winner already. Back out to Tonkov on the course. Well, unfortunately, we had no pictures of Peña riding the time trial simply because television cameras weren't rolling when he started today, and he's rather surprised everybody with that ride, including Ivan Gotti, last year's winner. He too has done a ride which puts him amongst the best of the rest.
Well, you know, one man who's got to put in a good performance today is Danilo De Luca. He started the day 51 seconds behind Casagrande. If he can put in a great ride today, Phil, he has got the chance, as we see Gotti coming in there in 17th place. Not a super time trial by him, but Danilo De Luca has a great chance of getting himself the pink jersey. Just 51 seconds separating him from Francesco Casagrande, and at the moment he is actually eating into the advantage of the Italian leader.
Well, here's a good ride from a man we didn't expect it from, Vladimiro Belli. He is coming in with a top performance here, and Belli is doing a superb ride. Look at the clock, look at the place. A 6th place so far for Belli. He should be pleased with that one. I think he is.
Well, that's a surprise to see him so high in an individual time trial, but this is the man that all of Italy is talking about right now, Danilo De Luca. His time at the moment is pretty good, but Tonkov, Phil, coming in towards the end here, seems to have faded somewhat. He's already gone out outside the time of Victor Hugo Peña and also outside the time of Jan Ruska, so he's not going to finish with a top 3 place.
Well, the leaderboard is now split by only a matter of half a minute or so across a number of riders, and as you can see, Tonkov's time is slipping him away here. He'd be looking to make the top 6 right now as he approaches the time of Vladimiro Belli. Just shows you what a great ride Belli has done, and that really indicates what a bad ride Pavel Tonkov has done, because he normally excels at the time trial. He has only beaten Belli by 4 seconds.
Well, he won't be pleased with that at all. He was hoping today to try and ride himself closer to the pink jersey of Francesco Casagrande. He started 1 minute and 47 seconds behind the Italian, who at the moment, Phil, is having a hard time, but he's actually defending himself quite well. He's not losing too much over the other rivals, and what seems to be happening is we're actually getting a lot of the other guys getting fairly close to the time of Francesco Casagrande at the time checks.
Well, the way the time trial is turning out, Casagrande won't worry too much about Peña, Ruska or Honchar for the mountains of this year's Tour de France, but you never know. As coming up to the line now, and this is going to be a reasonable time.
Stefano Garzelli throws his bike at the line there. His time is 51 minutes and 40 seconds, so that keeps him high up in the rankings. Out on the course now, there aren't too many riders still to come in, Phil. This is Danilo De Luca. He is hoping to try and get himself into the pink jersey, but at the time checks, he is actually doing around about the same time as Francesco Casagrande. Casagrande is not a great time trialist, and today he really has to pull himself inside out to try and keep in the pink jersey. Third man from the end, Andrea Noah, coming up to the line.
And Andrea Noah too, finishing a little bit down the field here with 52.07, 16th place. At the time checks though, he is slightly better than Casagrande and De Luca. Here comes De Luca now. It's been a big effort by this rider, but one gets the feeling at his age he is already beginning to get a little bit tired in this year's Giro. He's desperately fought to wear that leader's pink jersey, and now it is slipping away from him, because look at the time. Marco Vello, champion of Italy at the time trial, he's gone by now. Noah next, Ludo Dirksen's also in the 18th best time, and De Luca is going to be slower than that. So this isn't a great ride now, but it won't be far away from the performance now from Casagrande if we go by the time checks.
Well, Casagrande is the next man to come in. He was the last man to start in the time trial today, and I think really the pressure of the first 2 weeks, the pressure of the challenge for this man Danilo De Luca to try and get the pink jersey has made it very difficult for him. He has weakened. Now Francesco Casagrande is going to have to time out the clocks now, because he's going to turn into the final straight. He will have to sprint up to the line.
Well, his saving grace, Paul, is that the riders ahead of him, who are much faster, are not challengers for the final Maglia Rosa, and that's the only reason, because this is not a good time trial by Casagrande in real terms, but he's very lucky that Tonkov really is the only man to have gained significant time who might be a threat later on. Casagrande coming up to the line then, and all just about in the 30s. 31st place for the Maglia Rosa, and boy has he suffered today.
Well, I think that face there tells it all, the pressure of that jersey. There's confirmation of the stage finish. Peña ahead of Ruska and Honchar in third place. But you can see this man, we missed him out on the course, but in fact he has hardly ever had any professional wins to his credit, and this is his first professional win in Europe. Most of his other wins have been abroad.
And there's the latest situation now. Belli up to only 4 seconds behind Casagrande. Tonkov only 7. Look at those time gaps, only seconds in it, which really is quite amazing considering the distance we have now covered. 11 stages under the belt, and the riders enjoying their only rest day of the Giro d'Italia before out again on stage 12. This one taking them from Bibione to Feltre, 184 kilometres, and Paul is a very nasty climb just before the finish.
That nasty climb at the finish is 14.8 kilometres from the finishing line, and these three riders are the last remaining attackers of a group of 24 riders that got clear of the bike race today with 113 kilometres to go. And these guys now fill almost 1.5 kilometres from the summit of this climb, 15 kilometres to go to the finishing line, and once they go over the summit, it's all downhill to the finish.
Well, this is an unusual combination to get such a big group away, but they did, and the reason being the best placed in them is Alvaro Marin of the Sella Italia team. He's 9 minutes behind the overall leader Casagrande. Every reason then for the breakaway to succeed, as these new riders now make the pace up the mountain.
Well, it's Eddie Mazzolini in that group there with Sergio Barbero and Sevilla, the Kelme rider. This is the group that they've left behind at the moment, and one man surviving, in fact doing an unbelievable ride, is the man in the Ciclamina jersey there, Dmitri Konyshev. He is having an unbelievable tour.
He certainly is, Paul. It's his 6th day in that leader's jersey, and that's why he's in this breakaway. He's looking for all of the moves to make sure whenever he can be, he's in at the kill to score the points. This is the climb then. Once we're over the summit, we've done 169 of the 184 kilometres, and these three are climbing away at the moment. They've put that group back by quite a few seconds.
Oscar Sevilla is the man on the front for Kelme. What a team Kelme are turning out to be. They're always on the attack. We're almost at the summit of that climb, and certainly Phil, the winner of the stage must come from this group. But they do have just a small advantage over the rest, and the rest of that group has really exploded on this climb. In fact, Mario Cipollini was in the group, and he now, I think, is going to get picked up by the main field.
Well, the clock started there, but Sergio Barbero looking a little bit tired there. He came over the top. There's nobody attempted to challenge Sevilla for the sprint. And Mazzolini used to ride for Seiko. Now he's with Polti. He's the rider going through. These three are well clear and continuing their descent further back down the climbs. These are the best of the rest and the remnants of that breakaway as they come up towards the summit.
Well, there's a nice move there by Dmitri Konyshev, Phil. He's moving forward there. He's done a great ride today to survive on this climb, because he is not really one of the great climbers of the world of international cycling, and a man who really last year said he was going to retire from the sport. But I think what he wanted to do was do a couple more years with Giancarlo Ferretti. There are the three leaders, and in fact their advantage is not really very much more than 20 seconds over the chasers.
No, it's not, but the main field is still a lot further down that mountain, and the Casagrande taking a lot of thought in the fact that there's nobody up ahead which will damage his lead, which is still a very fragile one in this race. They're at 15 kilometers to go, Paul, so they are nearly 5 minutes behind.
They've lost an awful lot of time, but it's a strange day after a rest day. You know, everybody has very different sensations in their legs. This man is now trying to pull himself back into the bike race. He was in that leading group of 24. He survived over the climb, Phil, and he is now trying to get himself even more points on a day when the sprinters may not have their chance.
Well, Dmitri Konyshev is something else in this tour. He's not a man for the overall, but he's certainly a man for that Cipollini jersey, as he now tries to drag the remnants of that original breakaway of 24 up to these three escaping riders. They've just gone past the 9 kilometers to go, and the Mazzolini, here he is trying to freewheel his way to the finish, I think, as Barbaro gives him a little bit of a push.
Well, these riders must take some serious risks, because that group behind is not very far off the back of this leading group of three. You know, Eddie Mazzolini looking over his shoulder there, and he can almost feel the chasers. 30 seconds, the official time gap of Barbaro, Mazzolini and Sevilla over the group, which is around about 9 riders strong, I think, and the main field more than 4.5 minutes back.
Well, the chase is on behind. We've seen to run out of cameras today. They're spread over so far. As we pull back from the 3 leaders with the helicopter now, the others are chasing, and they are getting on. Look at this, because this is a very fast descent, and that man Konyshev is leading the charge down here. He's got a Lamprey rider on his wheel as they continue to chase into the group.
Well, you know, the Cipollini jersey is the jersey for the most consistent bike rider in the race, Phil, and you know it's been won in the past by Piccoli, and Piccoli himself is in this group. But if a man like Dmitri Konyshev can pick up points on a day like this, he's really going to challenge the sprinters for the overall win in that competition.
And we're looking at the leader, Eddie Mazzolini, trying to pull something special out of this for Polti, where the sprinters Martinello and Jerome Blyleven so far have failed. But I don't think they're going to make the finish without company, because that group behind, led by Dmitri Konyshev, is coming down at a rate of knots. In fact, such a rate of knots, the 3 of them have hooked up now. One of those is Piccoli, he's the 4th wheel now.
Well, that's a great move, but most of the work has been done on the descent by the Cipollini jersey, and the Cipollini jersey is that of Dmitri Konyshev. Marin is the rider on the back there for Sel Italia Nectar, but now that you can see Mariano Piccoli, he's gone straight by. Well, look at that, Phil, the response coming immediately from Konyshev.